I think that we should get started here. That we want to focus, as I was mentioning, on tomorrow's State of the State. And we have Senator O'Brien here with us today, who will be giving the minority response to the governor's speech on Wednesday. We're just going to have brief introductions. And again, then we'll go into your questions on the state of the state, taxes, or any other issues that you might be following. And I'd like to ask Representative Abbott to kick us off.
Yeah, thanks, Catherine. Hey guys, thanks for being on. I don't have much for you, but I'll be happy to answer questions after Pat and Shannon go. But basically what I want to see, and I think you guys have seen it, is this last week and this week are really a week of contrasts. We see contrasting tax plans. We have Jonathan Carlin's one-time only property tax rebate, which we just got a fiscal note on down in appropriations this afternoon. We're looking forward to that. And we think, our plans are, whether it's housing or childcare or tax, it's really focused on middle-class, working-class families, folks that need it. And the governor and Republicans, to the extent that they can agree on anything, it's really helping, big corporations, the wealthiest Montanans, and out-of-state folks. And, I think we'll continue to see that contrast as things move along. But with that, I will kick it off to Senator Flowers.
Thanks, Kim. Good morning, everybody. And I'll be brief as well before I hand it off to Shannon. I think you're starting to see over the past couple of weeks that plans to help struggling Montanans dealing with the housing crisis, the need to invest in more mental health services, affordable child care are all being debated, and we're beginning to see some of the solutions, and we're going to keep fighting for what we think are real solutions that actually have an impact. And the proposals we've seen so far from the governor and the Republicans, we just don't think are going to cut it and really are getting at the nut of the problem. We are all looking for the governor's office to reach across the aisle and hopefully do big things for working Montanans and make real improvements that are needed in things like housing and mental health and affordable child care. Senator O'Brien is, in my mind, the perfect choice for our minority response tomorrow. She is our vice chair of our tax committee. She clearly understands the opportunity that we have to make investments in Montanans, whether it's in education or otherwise. And I think as vice chair of tax, she is fully committed to create tax fairness for all Montanans. And with that, I will turn it over to Shannon.
Thanks, Pat. And hello, everyone. It's great to see you. Thank you for your interest. So as far as tomorrow night goes, we don't know exactly what the governor is going to say. But what we do know is that so far, what we're seeing, his actions are not going nearly far enough to meet the moment. And quite frankly, the many crises that are facing our state. Instead, especially in tax, we're seeing him using the old Republican playbook of big tax cuts for the wealthy, and that concept of trickle-down economics, which there's overwhelming body of research that shows that does not help working folks. There are serious efforts to limit or take away the freedoms Montanans count on, and that are guaranteed in our Constitution, and our Republicans have been spending just really critical time, precious time, focused instead on taking away these freedoms and not on the issues that our people are dealing with, which is comprehensive affordable housing. Our governor wound up sending tens of millions of dollars back to Washington, D.C. And now people are facing evictions. nowhere to go. They have to leave their communities in order to afford a home. We're not seeing the plan to increase the supply of housing that working people can afford. We're not incentivizing water and sewer pipes is fine to an extent, but again, it's just not enough. A place that's near and dear to my heart right now, personally, in our family, I'd like to see the plan to stop the closing of nursing homes. On the governor's watch, 11 nursing homes have closed their doors. Hamilton, Ronan, Malta, Miles City, and other communities. And this quite frankly is a serious economic issue for those communities, but it truly is a moral issue that we need to take care of our parents and our grandparents and our family and friends who are in their older years. We have 857 fewer beds, throwing families into crisis when they are struggling. Essentially, the big shocker to me is with the tax cut proposal in Senate Bill 121. If you're making over $500,000 a year, you're going to see well over $5,000 in your pocket for your tax incentives. And if you're a working mom and dad, you're gonna see, making $50,000 a year, $60,000 a year, $70,000 a year, you'll see about $60 in your pocket at the end of the year. And when we think about taxes, we think about consistency. So you don't have taxes that skyrocket, whether that's property taxes or income taxes. And we also think about fairness. So I'm happy to answer questions, and thanks all for being here.
Thank you, Senator. I know we've got some hands up, and again, if you could just introduce yourself when I call on you, and I think Jonathan, you were first, and then Eric.
Thank you. Jonathan Ambarian from Montana Television Network, and I apologize. I've got to get going somewhere here soon, so I just have time for one quick one. I wanted to ask maybe Leader Abbott about the tax plans. As you were saying, it looks like they're pulling all of these tax proposals in, and the Appropriations Committee is going to start winnowing down there. Do you have any optimism that what you guys have proposed may get a consideration there, or do you think that they've kind of decided on what they're going to do already and just deciding between Republican proposals?
I haven't seen any evidence that they've decided on what they're going to do yet. I mean, we'll see what happens on appropriations. I think it makes sense for serious tax proposals to land there after they've had a hearing. We did get Jonathan's down there to be part of the mix, and I do have some optimism that a more targeted approach to one-time only property tax could be in the mix. Senator Flowers and I have talked to the governor about it. The governor has consistently said that good ideas don't have a partisan label. And we think that targeting property tax relief for folks that really need it using area median income and including renters who are 30% of our population is good policy. And so we hope that it gets its due. And, we can see what Representative Carlin's hearing looks like downstairs today, but we're looking forward to it.
Thank you. Eric and then Tom. Eric, if you can introduce yourself.
Hi, Eric Dietrich, Montana Free Press. I think I know most folks here. I want to hear a little bit more about what you're thinking big picture in terms of property tax, right? Of course, as you say it over and over again, like that's a real big issue for a lot of people. What do you want to see? And we're hearing a lot about one-time only proposals with kind of like the current pot of money the state has for like giving OTO relief. Long term, what do you see the solutions to the property tax issue being? The Republicans are talking a lot about how they see the root cause of that issue being spent with local governments. I'm curious if you tend to think about that the same way, and what you're thinking we should be doing there.
I think it would be helpful to have Senator O'Brien talk a bit about her property tax relief bill.
Thanks, Pat. And thanks, Eric, for the question. A couple of things. One is Senate Bill 15 is essentially it expands the elderly tax credit for all people who earn under 45, or households rather, who earn under $45,000 a year. It's designed to alleviate the property tax pinch for both homeowners and renters, because renters are feeling it too. I'm sure you're aware rent is going up fast. That's one piece of the puzzle. And you know, as you mentioned, $1,000 for homeowners, one time only, is not a solution to this complex problem. And you know, we see over and over again the state not paying its fair share of basic infrastructure and basic education issues. And those are what that's what happens at the local level. So we need teacher salaries to be addressed and teacher benefits to be addressed. We need transportation support for those communities, local governments to be able to maintain what they need to maintain, including public health and all across the board. Thanks.
Hey, Eric, I would just to add to Senator O'Brien, I would take a look at House Bill 280. It's also Representative Carlin. It's awaiting a hearing down in the House Tax Committee. And that's our proposal on the House side. That's pretty generous long-term relief. And I think that you're familiar with the mechanism we use, but we're ensuring that a family's property tax doesn't rise faster than its income. And we do that through the income tax system, through an income tax credit, which I think is a pretty efficient way to address it. Keeps localities whole, so that what Shannon was saying about, you know, funding local infrastructure, funding fire and police, we're making sure localities are whole in that. So we're looking forward to a hearing on that bill, hopefully this week or next.
Just as
the only thing I would add to that, Eric, would just reiterate, is a one-time fix as proposed by the governor just doesn't deal with the scale of the problem that homeowners are facing. And I heard it over and over again when I was out talking to voters. And what I heard was, we need a long-term solution to this. And sending a check for $1,000 isn't going to pack it. I can guarantee you there will be a lot of unhappy homeowners, and it will be homeowners facing the specter of having to give up their home.
And if I may, just one more comment on this. The interim revenue committee met, and we spent an enormous amount of time on property tax. And so for us to come up with minimal solutions is irresponsible. Thanks.
Just as a quick follow-up, if I could, your caucus has been, both of your caucuses have been talking about like the kind of the income-based property tax relief for at least a session or two now. Do you have like those ideas don't seem to have gotten as much traction with Republicans? Do you have a sense for why they're not interested in taking like that approach, or don't seem to be as interested in that approach? Other than that they're wrong about everything?
I have never said such a thing, Eric. I think this has gotten bipartisan support. I think in prior sessions, there was some worry about getting the fiscal note in the shape that it needed to be to get the level of support that we needed. I think some good ideas take a lot of time, right? They take in and out of sessions and interims. And like Shannon said, the Revenue Committee has spent quite a bit of time on this concept and has gotten bipartisan support the last two interims. So I think we're building momentum on it. And like we've said before, it comes down to approach and details, whether you can get 51, 26, and 1 on something.
I'd like to go to Tom. Tom.
Yeah, Tom Kugler with Lee, and I gotta jump off here too pretty quick, but I wanted to ask, given this is probably for leadership, but given the disagreements we've seen last week between Republicans and the legislature and the governor's office, and now we appear to be up to 3 different Republican caucuses, is that posing challenges negotiating some of your agenda? And I guess I'll sort of end it there.
I think we've got it all here.
Yeah, I think questions about the Republican caucus are for Republican leadership, but from our perspective, we've said it before to you guys, for the last several cycles, we've had to work across the aisle. We have to build relationships with Republicans. Anything we get done has to be bipartisan, whether it was Governor Bullock on the second floor, we had to get it to his desk. And now that, it's Governor Gianforte on the second floor, it's even more true. So I think, in terms of challenges, we have to win people over on our ideas, and we think our ideas are good. And we've heard the governor say that ideas don't come with a partisan label. So we're going to keep on working across the aisle to deliver for our communities, and where we need to hold Republicans accountable, we'll hold them accountable, but where we can work together to get good policy through. I think Pat and I and both of our caucuses are completely up for that.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to Kim's statements, which were right on, is that kind of picture of what's happening on the Republican side is going to continue to shift throughout the session. And our job is to just find individual Republicans or groups of Republicans that we can find agreement with to pass good policy. And we'll keep working on that and search for those individuals or groups as time goes by to hopefully push good legislation over the finish line and stop bad legislation.
If anyone else has a question, I think, yes. Looks like, I know that, again, there are lots of competing events and you all are very busy, so I appreciate you taking the time with us. You should have, for the reporters on the line, you should have received an advisory to attend Senator O'Brien's response tomorrow evening. If you have not, please feel free to reach out to me, to reach out to Ty Wyckoff. We will make sure that you have everything that you need. And I'm sure that we can also make our principals available to you after the governor's speech and our minority response. So if there aren't any other questions, again, I'd like to say thank you so much to our principals and Senator O'Brien, and to all of you, again, for taking time out of your busy day. Feel free to reach out with any follow-up questions that you might have.
Thanks, you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks so much for doing this. Helpful as always.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.